We are lawyering up. The mayor names a new corporation counsel, then potential changes to the Supreme Court. The Point starts right now. Mayor Adams wants Randy Mastro to be the city's new corporation counsel, but will the city council go along? So there are a number of people in the city council who have expressed reservations. What are you doing to win them over?
I'm going to meet with each and every city council member, anyone who'll meet with me, present my qualifications, my background, my vision for that office, and I hope through that process, they'll get to know me and what I really stand for and what I've really done in government and what I've really done since government. I've had the honor during these last few weeks of meeting with most members of the City Council, and I have found them to be open-minded and fair. All I ask for is a fair shot because I love this city. And I love the law, and the chance to come back into city government and combine those two passions to help do the public's good using the power of the law. That's why I'm so drawn to this. It's a calling, and I'm called back to public service, and I want to do this job for the entire city, including the city council.
So you want to explain to our viewers and to the city council what you actually do stand for, since you raised it just minutes ago.
Thank you. I'm a lifelong Democrat. My personal views are reflected in achievements in government and in what I have done in my pro bono and community service. I chair Citizens Union, New York's revered nonpartisan good government group, which I steered for the first time in its history, 120-year history, to endorse in a presidential race in 2020. We endorsed Joe Biden. I was vice chair of the Legal Aid Society, on the boards of Sanctuary for Families, CUNY, YMCA of Greater New York. In my pro bono work, I have for 40 years done cases involving civil rights, constitutional rights, social justice, human rights in the LGBTQ community. I have always sought to bring people together to achieve positive change in government, going back to when I was deputy mayor, reaching across the hall to unite the city council and the administration to have historic achievements like cracking down on organized crime at the Fulton Fish Market and private carding industry, for which I personally received death threats, passing the most sweeping domestic partnership legislation in the country protecting same-sex couples, and winning over, working with, as partners in government, Democrats in the city council, labor unions, to achieve the public's good. That's what I strive to do again when I come back to government, to bring both sides of the whole together, to represent the entire city government, and to achieve positive change for New Yorkers through a law department, 800 strong, putting more of their resources into affirmative litigation to protect civil rights, constitutional rights, human rights, social justice, and public safety, workers' rights, tenants' rights, consumer protection, environmental protection. The law department, moving more of its resources into that kind of affirmative litigation, can become a model for what a public law office should be. I stand on the shoulders of giants who've held this position, but I have a vision for this office to do more affirmative litigation, to do more to protect civil rights, constitutional rights, social justice, and public safety, and I have a passion for it.
So do you think with all these credentials that are legitimately incredible credentials, do you think it's fair for many of the city council members to point out that you did work for Rudy Giuliani, who was a Republican?
Well, let's be clear. I was the ranking Democrat in the administration.
You were, I remember.
And our administration is pro-choice, pro-gay rights, pro-immigration,
so it's unfair
pro-gun control.
So it's unfair for them to say he worked for Giuliani.
Well, I think you have to look at what we did and what I did in office. I was the one who shepherded through the domestic partnership legislation that provided the most sweeping protections for same-sex couples in the country at the time. That was bringing together a Republican Catholic mayor and a Catholic speaker to pass that historic legislation.
How difficult was that to do, given the fact that they had certain views at the time that may not have jibed with what you were trying to do?
Well, let's put it this way. At the end of the day, doing the right thing should always be easy to do. But I was very proud of that historic achievement, and the New York Times called it a legacy achievement.
So also they complain about some of your clients. You know, you did represent Chris Christie in the Bridgegate situation, and you represented Governor Phil Murphy to fight congestion pricing, which is sort of a very important point to a number of the progressive members of the city council. So how do you answer those people who say, we want congestion pricing and you were against it?
Okay. So first, it should tell you something about how respected I am as a lawyer, that a Republican governor and a Democrat governor both hired Randy Mastro to represent them. Second, I admit I have handled high-profile, sometimes controversial cases in private practice. That's what lawyers in private practice do, representing the firm's clients in their highest-profile matters and zealously, ethically, and getting the best results possible. To me, this should be a plus, that I get such successful results. Now I'm going to be getting them for you, New York City. Now I'm going to be getting them for you, City Council. That's the kind of lawyer I am, committed to serving and getting great results.
So if you are confirmed, I know you want to bring changes. Tell me about the changes that you would like to bring to the New York City Law Department that you think are very important in terms of changing their mission.
Well, again, I have profound respect for the law department. I was a consumer as deputy mayor, and as I said already, I stand on the shoulders of giants who have served before me if I'm fortunate to have this opportunity. But I do think that historically that office has focused on defending the city. There's so many lawsuits against the city. And while that is important and will continue to be an important part of the mission, I want to move more of the resources, more of those 800 lawyers, into doing affirmative litigation where we bring or we join lawsuits that protect civil rights, constitutional rights, social justice, workers' rights, tenants' rights, consumer protection, environmental protection, and public safety. We should be going after guns and gang violence and organized crime and illegal smoke shops. We can do so much more and join lawsuits as interveners, or what we call
Sounds
amicus.
Like you want to make it a prosecutorial office.
I wanted to do both. New Yorkers deserve no less. And I think the great lawyers who were there and the great lawyers we can convince to come there will have the same passion for that kind of work that I have, and want to not only defend the city to the best of our abilities, but also to bring affirmative cases to advance that kind of agenda.
So we have about 30 seconds left. I'd like you to look into the camera and tell New Yorkers, tell the members of the City Council, why you are the best person for this job, bar none.
Thank you. I have two passions in life. I love this city. I love the law. And the opportunity to combine those two loves, to do the public's good, to return to do the public's good, and to use the power of the law to achieve so many good social ends and improve New Yorkers' lives, that is something I'm called to do. I will represent the entire city, both the administration and the City Council, and I vow to make you proud of what we do together for the public good. Please give me that opportunity.
And on that note, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation does continue right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News, New York. I'm joined now by Hofstra Law Professor James Sample. So earlier in the week, President Biden proposed a series of reforms to the Supreme Court. I wonder what your reaction was to his move.
I think it's an important step, and I think that there are essentially 3 different measures that he's proposed, and you need to evaluate them each on an individual basis.
So before we do that, I want to just ask you, do you think this was political? Because there have been, especially among the Democrats, upset by some of the decisions that came from the Supreme Court, which now has a 6-3 conservative majority. Do you think it was a reaction to not liking the decisions, or are these needed reforms for a court that hasn't been changed in centuries?
I think the answer is both and. I think it is absolutely political, in part because it tees up the discussions around the Supreme Court as we enter the last 90 days of a presidential election, in which the Supreme Court is wildly out of step with broad majorities of Americans, including in many instances Republicans. And I think it's also a function of serious policy proposals and needed reforms for the court, regardless of politics and regardless of partisan views.
So let's take them one at a time. First of all, term limits. 18-year terms for Supreme Court judges. Good idea, bad idea? Your thoughts?
It's an idea that actually has its source in many Republicans from years gone by, including Chief Justice John Roberts when he was in the White House in the 80s as White House counsel. It's an idea that if you step back from the partisan moment, and there's absolutely a partisan valence to the issue given the 6-3 Supreme Court, but in 1789, justices weren't serving for 30 years because their life expectancy was significantly different, and the politics of the nomination process and the confirmation process were also very different, including the strategic retirements and the strategic timing of retirements that we've seen in recent years. So whether it's a good idea, reasonable people disagree on whether it's a good idea. I think that's a discussion that is worth having, and I think that one of the attributes of this proposal is it would regularize the nomination process so that every 2 years, in the first and third years of a presidency, a president would get an appointment. And if you sort of put on the blinders, if you put on the veil of ignorance and evaluate this policy apart from knowing who's in the office now, 12 years from now, we have no idea who the president will be and no idea what the Senate composition will be.
Or where the country's moving politically. Would it be a good idea to regularize the nomination and confirmation process? I think if you look at it from that standpoint, then you start to see the merits of depoliticizing what has become an extraordinarily political football. But also you hit on an interesting point, is that when the Founding Fathers established the Supreme Court, the life expectancy was maybe 30, 40 years. Now it's 70, 80, 90 years, and people who were picked on the court when they're young can serve for a huge, long amount of time, and maybe that's not what the Founding Fathers wanted. They wanted, a revolving of new blood.
I think that's well phrased. I think that the Supreme Court is an extraordinarily powerful body. We want it to be an independent body. We want it to be protected from the whims of the political process at times. But on the other hand, we don't want unaccountable, concentrated power in the hands of very few for an extraordinarily long and somewhat random, based on life expectancy and sort of, the tables and who knows, period of time.
So ethics reform, good idea, bad idea?
Absolutely a necessary idea. This is the no-brainer of no-brainers in the proposal. If you look, we just recently went through, as tri-state area people, the Senator Menendez verdict. If you look at Justice Thomas and Justice Alito, and you compare them and the process that they haven't had to the process that Senator Menendez had, imagine a scenario where the jury in the Menendez case consisted only of Senator Menendez. That's the process that we have in place for Supreme Court justices, where they're making their own ethics decisions in their own cases without any review by anyone else. Justice Kagan, Senator Whitehouse, others in the political process have been calling this raising this issue for years. The fundamental issue at the Supreme Court is that there's a statute. It says that whenever a justice's impartiality might reasonably be questioned, they're required to recuse. The problem is
they make the decision themselves.
They make the decision themselves, and no one reviews it. we used to have a greater sense of shame and embarrassment. You know, Abe Fortas, who was appointed by Lyndon Johnson, got caught with his hands in the cookie drawer while he was on the Supreme Court. He resigned despite the fact that Richard Nixon was the president when he resigned. Imagine a scenario in which Clarence Thomas had the shame to resign while Joe Biden is president. That's not the world we're living in. So if the statutes aren't working, and the shame and the norms aren't working, we need to do something. And the clear thing to do is to strengthen enforcement mechanisms.
Third position, third part, a constitutional amendment so that presidents would not be immune for any crimes they commit while in office.
The constitutional amendment process is notoriously difficult. If you take out the Bill of Rights.
But basically, they want to reverse what the Supreme Court just did. Exactly. So it's very hard to do through the mechanisms that are in place. And the difficulty of the constitutional amendment process is a feature. It's not a bug. But unfortunately, about 5 weeks ago, the Supreme Court effectively amended the Constitution to change what had been the status quo for 240 years. This country fought a revolution against a nation that said a king can do no wrong. The Supreme Court essentially created and so
that very...
can do no wrong.
Absolutely. And so, in a sense, that constitutional amendment to go back to what had been the status quo for 240 years is a modest step. It is a slow, arduous process to get it done, but it's a process that is necessitated by the actions of the Supreme Court being so, frankly, inexplicable 5 weeks ago.
Well, we only have 30 seconds left, but I'm just curious, how could the Supreme Court do this if it would take a constitutional amendment to reverse it? You have only about 30 seconds.
Sure. Well, Marbury versus Madison says that the Supreme Court has the power to say what the law is and gets the last say on what the Constitution is, what the Constitution means. They used that power in this case, in my view and in the view of many, inappropriately, but to reverse that through the normal political channels would require the amendment process.
And on that note, we're going to have to leave it there for now, but we'll be right back. Thank you for joining me. How much do New Yorkers care about climate change, and is it affecting their lives? They're weighing in on your point. Are you concerned about climate change?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. Of course.
I don't have any concern.
Kind of sort. I'm really concerned about being late for work. I'm already a senior citizen, and I can't believe the change in my lifetime. And if it keeps going like this, who knows?
It's something that we could have solved a long time ago. It's something we need to take care of now.
It affects everybody. I have 2 daughters, and I want to make sure I leave the planet in a very good state for them in the future, for my grandchildren.
What effects of climate change are you seeing?
Fires.
Storms. It's getting hotter.
I mean, it was like 90 degrees for all of June here.
Temperatures are just off the charts.
There's heat wave in almost every part of the world.
Warmer winters, hotter summers.
Insane rainstorms.
A lot of storms.
And that's
The tornadoes. All those things are signs that there are changes in the climate.
What can be done about it?
I think we can vote for certain people that are actually concerned about climate change and, show that they believe that it's real, which it is.
Well, we first need to hold the big multinational corporations responsible for the fact that they are, A, dumping all the waste into nature.
Find alternatives to fossil fuels and electrify as much as we can.
Make regulations about what kind of fuel we use.
Start cutting trees. Leave the trees alone.
I guess there are lots of things we could do in terms of waste. Be careful about our waste.
Everyone should just pitch in. Don't litter.
Time machine, go back in time and make different choices.
Try to think about the future. Think about your children. If you have children, how's this going to affect them?
You think it's going to get better or just going to get worse?
I definitely think it's going to get worse.
Oh, it's going to get worse. Oh, definitely it's going to get worse.
I think eventually it'll get better, but it's going to take a long time.
Depends who wins this election.
Well, I hope that the next administration can continue making changes.
I'm 29 years old. This is the #1 issue I've been hearing since I was a child. So, yeah, I feel like it's going to get worse before it gets better.
I hope it could be fixed. I'll say I'm hopeful.
I think the entire global capitalistic system has ensured that some people's lives are just more important, and people think they're somehow going to escape climate change, which is not going to happen.
Open up your eyes, open your ears. Don't listen to the nonsense and the fake news and all that crap. It's happening. It'll probably get worse before it gets better, and we all need to chip in and help.